Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers as we look ahead to today's action here on Tuesday, March 29th, 2022. And a lot of NBA from last night to catch up on, along with tonight's card. And obviously one of the big stories tonight, LeBron James not playing for the Lakers. They are running out of time to make the postseason. So we're going to hit on that. Also, you have the NIT semifinals this evening from Madison Square Garden in New York. And we'll look ahead to those two matchups with St. Bonaventure battling Xavier. Also, Washington State and Texas A&M. And both those teams have played very well so far in this tournament. So all of that coming up in just a little bit. First, though, I want to tell you about the Sports Illustrated Sportsbook. And you can find them online at sisportsbook.com. You can get up to $300 in free bets for new players only. And again, it only applies in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 years or older as well. So check it out at sisportsbook.com. All right, let's bring on the man, the myth, who we have not seen in a few weeks, but now we're going to see him. It's Dave Sharapan. Dave is
Kevin.
And Dave, good to see you. I want to hit on this first out of the gate, the big news, because I didn't talk to you yesterday. We haven't talked in a little bit.
Yes.
What did you make of the entire Will Smith, Chris Rock situation at the Oscars?
It wasn't made up. I don't think it
absolutely
was made
not.
up.
No, it was real.
Yeah, I thought that was real. I just first thought was that Rock was minus 250 if they go, because he took the shot and he just bounced off. It was so funny because I thought, how was he able to just keep going on? Like, he gathered himself and it looked like he was going to unload on him. Like, he was like, oh, and then he just said, all right, I'm going to finish a set and go to commercial. And you can't go hitting guys, can you? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the guy took a shot at the wife and, you know, I wasn't watching it live. I only saw immediately. I got a text like, did you just see that? I was out with the kids eating pizza. I was like, see what? Because usually for years, Kev, we watched the Oscars, remember? Like, I used to watch it. My mom had an Oscars party back in the day before anyone really did. So it was always a big deal. And we usually saw the movies. Now, I haven't seen any of the movies that are up for nomination recently. So I wasn't watching it live. I don't know. Did you think there was I didn't think there was anything staged at all.
All right. Well, number one, I'm a Chris Rock fan. So when he came on the stage, I'm like, oh, let me see what, he's funny. Let me see him for his minute. Best documentary, blah, 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 be done. So he goes into the jokes and we're watching it. And then when you see Will Smith walking the stage, at first I thought maybe it was staged. I'm like, why is he going on the stage like that? But then the reaction of Chris Rock being like, whoa, and then the broadcast at ABC basically muting everything, and then it's like just awkward, and then it cuts back to Will Smith yelling, mute what he said. I'm like, no, this is real. This is 100% real, what happened. But you're right, though. Chris Rock definitely kept his composure.
Did you see the unedited version?
I saw it like 10 minutes later, yes.
Okay. I mean, there was a lot of F-bombs, and there was like, he was mad. And I was just like, what the hell's going on right now? I mean, if anyone else would have done that, like if you go and hit a comedian at a club, you go to jail, right? Like, he got to sit back down and get an award and give a speech. It's so bizarre. The whole thing is so strange. But I mean, it got people to at least watch the clips of the Oscars, and it got 24 hours at least of a news cycle. And my God, it'll get a year's worth of meme or, gifts or whatever. Every time somebody's talking about a smack this or smack that or a boy, it's going to be nonstop. So, I mean, from that aspect of it, it's going to have life. And then, do you think it was funny because I mean, I love comedy and I love comedians, and the cleverness of saying stuff is always good. I don't always agree with when you go to a comedy club, they just pick you out and take shots at you. I mean, that's part of the shtick, I guess. But I've been to comedy clubs and I'm looking at a guy and he's making fun of me or, somebody I'm with. And I'm just like, that's all you got? And so many times I want to engage, but they want you to engage so then they can have a whole act.
Right.
So you don't engage. So I think him going up there engaged, I mean, like I'm tired of the just let's go take shots at everybody. That's what the routine is anymore for these, for the Oscars and stuff. And it's like, come on, guys, be better. Talk about something else. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the other one too is, and I believe if Will Smith would have sat there and just yelled and that was it, not gone on stage, Chris Rock would have looked bad and Will Smith was defending his wife. But him, the physical stuff, no. That just was bad.
Yeah. They got such a weird relationship too. I didn't know about all this stuff. You do a little research and it's like, man, what? I don't know. It's such an awkward thing. And all the people in our space, everybody got something to say, and it's all over Twitter. It never stopped the whole, next couple hours, all morning. It's all this, it's all that. And I even got guilty of it because I retweeted the New York Post headline, Best Smackter.
Hey, those guys are so smart. They come up with great headlines.
I joked that, when I went to school, one of the things I wanted to do, I said, I want to be a headline writer. Those guys are great. You can say whatever they want and put a picture on with it, and they get away with it. Best Smackter? That was really funny. I saw it and I said, man, it's a shame newspapers are dying because this is one of the best things about it is just getting it for the headline.
All right, I want to transition now. Let's talk some sports. You're wearing the Carolina hat.
I am.
And that old Pittsburgh Penguins jacket when they had the blue, that baby blue thing. The matches, I'll give you that one.
You got to coordinate, Kevin. You got to coordinate. The kids know. That's the hat game always has to be on point. And if I can coordinate the fit, apparently that's what you say now. I'm getting it street cred. You got to have street cred. You got to have the fit has to match the lid. That's what I'm told. Just trying to play by the rules.
So what do you think about this game coming up on Saturday that, Coach K playing Carolina, first time ever in the tournament these teams are facing off. It works out perfectly. His last year, of course, they're both going to play each other in the Final Four.
After Kev, North Carolina beat Coach K in Duke in his last home game in Cameron by a whole lot of points. That's a great picture there. North Carolina, the kid with the beard against the Duke, All-American, this, that. Come on. This is going to be a monster. I talked about it with Peralta on the show on Bostonian versus the Book. We were talking about it. Could it be one of the highest rated games of all time? Distractions and the way you consume television and all this other stuff now, I don't know if it can eclipse Magic and Bird in 1979, which is apparently the most watched game ever. But Duke can't lose, can they? This is it. This is how he goes off. I've been just reminding everybody with the North Carolina hat. Plus, it's the only one I got left. I don't have a Duke hat. There's no chance I have a Villanova or Kansas hat. The guy tried to get me a Kansas hat. He said it's on sale for $5. I almost did it, and I was like, they're not winning it. And now they're going to win it. So I should have got the Kansas hat. But I don't know, Kev. Why can't North Carolina win? They can't win?
Look at what they've done so far, Dave, in this tournament. They destroyed Marquette. They were up 25 on the defending national champions before Baylor made that incredible comeback, and Carolina still won in overtime. They beat a really good UCLA team. And you know what? No matter what people say about St. Peter's, they handled that team that beat Kentucky, that beat Purdue, that beat a good Murray State team. Carolina could have easily just tried to sleepwalk through it, close game. They blew them out from the get-go. So that's a great job by Carolina doing all that to get to this point.
No question. I think they're such a good basketball team that, they're not going here willingly just playing the heel, no pun intended, but they're just going to go roll over. They would love nothing more than to win this game. The line's only 4. So, I think that, you listen to people come in the book, when you work in the book all week, they'll come in and they'll tell you about the Coach K thing and the refs can't, who they're going to make calls on. Of course, they're going to favor Duke. Of course, they're going to favor Coach K. You just hear it all week. And then you watch the game and you're like, okay. I don't know. I think North Carolina's live. I think they can win both games. So this is this is really impressive what they've done. Some guys I know that are, I really respect their opinion, have been on North Carolina and futures before the tournament. They said this team can go and win. That game that Virginia Tech had and that little run that they had in the ACC tournament was impressive. But North Carolina may have been the best team at the time. Duke wasn't even considered that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And now all of a sudden they're ready to anoint Duke, the favorite, even ahead of Kansas. What about Kansas? There's 4 really good teams left right now in this thing.
Who would surprise you the most if they won it? Because I feel like Villanova, with their injuries and all of that maybe they're going to run out of juice. Would you be surprised if Villanova won the whole thing?
I would, because of that, but not any other reason. And, I'm even surprised that some books have North Carolina is the 4th choice of the future odds left. I thought it would be automatic that it would be Villanova, just from the lack of interest and the lack of excitement watching them play. It's like watching paint dry, Kev. It's really slow. The winning score in this game to get to the Final Four, 50-44? That's the final score of a college basketball game in 2022? How do you even make the total for that? I was joking with guys that still, working the books. I'm like, how do you make totals for the Villanova games? It finished 94. It doesn't make any sense, and I think that's why I would be most surprised if they won. But can they win? Absolutely. They're a 4-point dog here. They ain't going to be more than that in a championship game.
What's that handle going to be like for the Carolina Duke game on Saturday? Just because you have the K factor, you have this rivalry, revenge spot for Duke after they lost the final home game for Krzyzewski at Cameron with all the former players back there. It's just going to be like one of the biggest handles for a college basketball game that we'll ever see.
I think so. For an individual college basketball game, it being in the perfect time slot, even for you guys back east, it's not too late. It's late, but it's not too late. So, but I think the handle, I think anyone that has an opinion, or anyone that has filled out a bracket, or that anyone that even remotely likes sports is going to get caught up in this and go, you know what, this is going to be a good game. And then the spread allows you to not have to lay a lot of points. Like North Carolina going against St. Peter's pushed a lot of people to St. Peter's because the line was too high. Nobody likes to lay 8.5, but then, a lot of the quote unquote sharp guys, bad guys, whatever, they were doing it. And it was one of those things, even I was hoping St. Peter's was at least competitive, but I really didn't think they were going to be. And that's when I started wearing the North Carolina hat on Sunday. And I've been wearing it since, because I think, yes, this will be a nice handle. It's the last Saturday, there's only 2 games. And I think you might even get some rollover. If people bet Kansas in the first one, they're going to roll it over and have an opinion on the second one.
Now, I want to transition over to the NBA, and you have tonight, I know you hit on this on Twitter, Sportsbook Consig. They're not making the playoffs, are they, the Lakers? Right now, they are 31-43. They go to Dallas tonight with no LeBron. You mentioned their schedule. Dallas, Utah, New Orleans, Denver, Phoenix, Golden State, OKC, and at Denver. How the hell are they going to win enough games to get in the playoffs?
When you go through that, if you give them a fair shake against all those teams in that order, I think 3 is the maximum they can win. They're 11. What are they? 11-point dogs tonight?
Yeah.
11.5. Okay. And it's already 12 painted in Vegas. Vegas, a lot of people here know too. I don't think they're going to make the play-in. It's crazy when you really start to look at it. And the last game against the Pelicans was basically a playoff game because they're right there. They blow a 20-point lead and lose. And people are still like, oh man, when AD comes back, look out, LeBron and him are going to make a run. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The rest of the roster, nobody's helping. They don't play any defense. I think they're rated in the 1 or 2 worst in the league in the paint defense or some other ranking thing. Watch the games. Team's no good. I don't know, Kev. Unless like they catch a couple teams resting starters and get a couple easy wins, I think they get past. Here come the Spurs. The Spurs are right there, right? The Spurs will take that last spot, and they'll be 11th out of 14 teams in the West after having gone into the season being a 7-2 favorite to win the whole thing.
Can I give you something?
Please.
Between us, two things.
Yeah.
They're 10-22 since January 7th, but do you want something that's even more mortifying?
Yes.
The Lakers have not won consecutive games since early January. Last time we won consecutive games, we won 4 straight. Portland, December 31st, and 3 straight to start January. They have not won back-to-back games in nearly 3 months.
I mean, that's out of 31-43, right? It's like so funny because so many times people will bet them because they're the Lakers or because it's LeBron. And it's one of those things like, I mean, I guess we have an educated audience here, but maybe not. You don't have to bet these teams, you know, or you bet stars, you get caught up in it. That's why the NBA sometimes can be so hard because there's teams like the Suns who, I mean, they have stars. I mean, I think Devin Booker's amazing. And Chris Paul, until he was hurt, was playing as good as anybody. And you know, they have names, but they win and cover. They were dogs 9 times this season, or 8-1 in those games. There's other teams like the Lakers that perception, it takes people until now with 8 games left in the season to go, man, this team stinks. Why do I keep betting on them? LeBron's on, he's getting old. LeBron may win the scoring title. It's not his fault. But I mean, the numbers are, what did Bill Parcells say? You are who your numbers say you are, right?
You are what your record is.
You are what your record is, something like that. Yeah, that's it.
Now, San Antonio, the one thing I'll give them is they've taken care of their business, and they just beat Houston last night. It may not be pretty, but you got to beat Houston. You got to beat Portland. You got to beat these bad teams that are right there. Let's go back to the Eastern Conference for a second, Dave. And this is probably the most interesting playoffs that we've seen in a long time. As far as like the East, you don't have a clear-cut team that can come out of the East.
No, I swear the East, it's awesome. It's been fun to be in the content business. It would be even like one of the things that I used to do a lot was manage the futures just for like the NBA, especially. You could trade a who's the favorite like every day, you know, based on what the road's going to be. You know, if Boston gets the 1 seed and they have to play Brooklyn in the first round, I mean, that's going to be a lot different than Milwaukee maybe getting Atlanta and then et cetera, et cetera. But between Boston, Milwaukee, I love the Sixers. I love the song. I love all about it, but I just don't think now. I'm getting worried every time they run up against somebody that's going to be a little bit physical or just do stuff a little bit better than them. I don't think they can win it. But then you got Miami, you got Chicago. I mean, and then Brooklyn's is the elephant in the room. They're the favorite for the whole thing. They're the 9 seed right now. I mean, they're going to have to play their way in to then ruin everybody's life on the way up. I mean, they're going to be favorites as a road team against some of these teams. It's awesome. The Eastern Conference is fantastic. Do you see any clear-cut anything when you look at this?
You have 4 teams right now separated by a game, less than a game. Heat, Sixers, Bucks. Sixers and Bucks play tonight. Celtics at 4. They got a tough one. Robert Williams, he's out for a bit, so that hurts them. But still, 4 teams. It could go any which way. The Heat have been playing awful. They finally beat Sacramento last night. But out of those 4, I mean, look, with Philly, I just don't know with Harden and Embiid. It looked good for the first few games, and then it kind of dropped off. They've had a lot of these big blown leads.
Yeah, they keep doing that. It's just there's patterns developing where I'm just like, I don't know if Doc is not managing the minutes right, like or just not reacting. I don't know, and I don't like the way Harden when he gets really pushed and you know someone up in his face. It just seems like he's not. I don't know if I want to say battle tested. I don't know what it is. Something just ain't there for me for them, but. I mean, you got the Heat guys. They're fighting on the sideline. Haslam told Jimmy he was going to kick his ass, and I believed him. I was like, he's going to take him right back there. And I may have him a small favorite, even though he's a little bit older. He looked like he got that old
He's
man
got old
strength.
man strength.
No
Udonis has him.
question. No
Yeah.
question. I thought, oh man, this would have been the smack before the smack.
Now, before I let you go, you got to
Yep.
get out of here in a minute.
Yep.
We are a week away from Major League Baseball. It's here, Dave. It's right here. We're finally got it after that silly lockout.
Thank goodness. I got all my baseball work to do starting this week. Now they got past the Sweet 16 and we got to the Final Four. We got a little bit of breathing room, although, NBA and NHL never stop, thank goodness. And then, college basketball is winding down. We got, NIT finals and all that other stuff. Baseball is going to be really interesting. I'm trying to figure out the starting rotations, starting to try to figure out the bullpens. It's easy to get kind of the lineups and things. Look at the AL East. I mean, the AL East is going to be fantastic theater, right? You got the Yankees, of course, always. You got the Red Sox. Okay. Oh yeah, Tampa, who nobody knows who the guys are. All they do is win. You see their season win total, and it's the same as everyone else's. You're like, what? And then, oh yeah, Toronto. Toronto's going to be awesome. It looks like they actually have the team. Now, do they have the pitching? The NL East is interesting. Is it time that the Mets finally get good again? I don't know. I really don't. And I mean, I saw Albert Pujols come back to St. Louis yesterday. He's going to finish his career in a Cardinal uniform. I ain't got a Cardinal hat. Guess what? I got to go find a goddamn a St. Louis hat and probably a jersey now to celebrate Albert, because, I mean, when Albert came up, he was one of my favorite players. I said, this guy's unbelievable. And all he did was, win those batting crowns and kind of made me root for St. Louis, because I couldn't root for Pittsburgh. It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me, but the Pirates ain't been good in such a long time. So, yes, I'm very excited about baseball. I can't wait. How about you? I mean, I know you're a baseball guy too, kind of. This is a good thing, right?
I do. Oh, it's great. And the lockout, I don't care. It's done with. They're playing. I don't care. You figured it out. I don't care. I like the Phillies. I'm going to buy into the Phillies a little bit. I think that they can get over the hump. There's something about the Mets. Something about the Mets. I just don't. DeGrom's going to get hurt. Scherzer's going to get hurt. Something's going to happen. I cannot trust the Mets as far as I can throw them.
Same with me, but then you want to go to the Phillies, right? And you go, wait, the Braves. The Braves are still right there. The Braves won't go away. They won the World Series last year. That damn tomahawk chop is ingrained into my head from 1992. I can't get rid of it. Sid Bream sliding home, the slowest runner ever, former Pirate. I can't get rid of the Braves in my head. I'm like, the Braves again. Here we go. So yes, it's very exciting and it's fun because it's every day and there's so many different things in Major League Baseball. Despite itself, the product still is a good thing.
Now, next Monday, are you good for Monday to come on and talk about the Final Four and some baseball looking ahead to opening day?
For sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Let's do it. Next Monday, you'll come back on. We'll talk about the championship game. We'll see if it's Duke or not. Dave Sharapan, you can find him on Twitter.
Who do you think's going to be when we meet again on Monday? Which two teams are going to be playing, Kev?
Chalk, Duke and Kansas.
Man, it sucks. I think you're right. I'm hoping it's North Carolina and Kansas, but if it's Villanova, I think that's the biggest upset of the weekend. If we're talking,
I agree. Villanova. I just think Villanova's just going to run out of players. They're just out of gas. I think that's just what's going to be Villanova.
Yeah.
But love Jay Wright though. Dave Sharapan, you can find him on Twitter. SportsBK Consig. Thank you, Dave.
See you, Kev. Talk to you soon.
All right, there is Dave Sharapan. Always good talking to him, and we'll talk to him again coming up on Monday before the national championship and the college basketball season will be done. And then a few days later, the circle of sports life will restart with Major League Baseball. So we're okay. Like life still goes on. It's okay for sports. Now let's talk about a few games tonight in the NBA. There's only 5. We hit on the Lakers Mavs. We'll get back to Lakers Mavs coming up in just a moment. But let's start with the Bucks and the 76ers. Big game in Philadelphia tonight. Why? Because these teams trying to fight to get to the number 1 seed, perhaps, in the Eastern Conference. And look, Philadelphia is back home after this road trip, which saw them lose at Phoenix back 2 days ago, 114-104. That snapped a 3-game winning streak for Philadelphia. And the Sixers, if they could find a way to beat Milwaukee tonight, which isn't crazy, but if they could beat Milwaukee, they get Detroit, Charlotte, Cleveland the next 3. So Philadelphia can really help themselves. Milwaukee goes to Brooklyn coming up on Thursday. So that's an Eastern Conference Finals rematch, or Eastern Conference semifinals rematch, I should say. But the Bucks, though, off a 25-point loss to Memphis back a few nights ago. Bad job there by Giannis and the Bucks as they lose that game. 3 straight unders now for Milwaukee. The first 2 meetings, I should say, between these teams this season, both easily went over the total. Milwaukee won in November, 118-109 in Philadelphia, over 215. Philly won at Milwaukee before the All-Star break, 123-120, over 222.5. But that was before James Harden has even suited up for the 76ers. So he'll be facing Milwaukee for the first time in a Sixers uniform. So that's the prime game tonight between the 76ers and the Bucks. In DC, the Bulls off a loss to the Knicks last night, 109-104. That's now 3 losses in the last 4 games for Chicago. Also, they are 2-6 the last 8 games. So Chicago, who was up for maybe a 1 seed in the East, they are slipping quickly. They'll be in that either 5 or 6 slot, but they have really struggled on the road. They have lost now. What are they? They are 1-6 their last 7 on the road. That is no bueno for them. Washington, give the Wizards some credit. Kyle Kuzma's hurt. Obviously, Bradley Beal's still hurt, but they have won 2 straight. Beat Detroit on the road. Beat Golden State on the road. Or Golden State at home, rather, a few nights ago. So the Wizards looking for their 3rd consecutive win. They are totally dinged up right now, but at least still giving a bit of an effort. Chicago's won the first 2 meetings by 1 and by 8. Both games went over the total, so we'll see what happens here in this 3rd matchup. All right. Detroit and Brooklyn, they meet up at Barclays Center this evening, and the Nets, they are coming off of a pretty ugly loss at home a few nights ago to Charlotte. That was a game in which Kyrie Irving, he returned to the lineup for the Nets to play in Brooklyn as they lifted the mandate for entertainers and athletes. So Kyrie, who ended up going the other night, really struggled. 6 of 22 from the floor, 1 of 9 from 3, 16 points and 11 assists. But the Nets end up losing to the Hornets, 119-110. Now the Nets are laying nearly 2 touchdowns to the Pistons. And the one thing that I can give the Detroit Pistons is this number, which is pretty amazing. That the Pistons now 15-1 against the spread in their last 16 as a dog. So 15-1 against the spread, their last 16 in the underdog role, and that's 8-0 on the road during that stretch. It's a pretty good job there by Detroit. And understandably, their season's kind of in the toilet, but at least they're still giving an effort in those games in the underdog role. So we'll see what they do if they can hang around tonight with Brooklyn. All right, back to the Lakers now and their game with the Mavericks in Dallas. And Luka and the Mavs, 46-29 on the season. Dallas off a 114-100 win over Utah. Rudy Gobert didn't play. Donovan Mitchell got hurt in that game. We'll talk about the Jazz in a second. But Dallas back on the under run, 8-2 to the under in their last 10 games. And for the Lakers, they blew that big lead at New Orleans on Sunday. They may not make the playoffs. I mentioned the number 10-22 the last 32 games for LA. And so far this season, and LeBron's not playing tonight, Lakers beat the Mavs 107-104 in overtime, first meeting mid-December in Dallas. Luka didn't play in that game. Mavericks came back and beat the Lakers 109-104 in early March in LA. So both games are going under. And now we'll see if you have a third under in this game tonight between these two teams. Final game of the night inside of the NBA, the Jazz and the Clippers in LA. And for Utah, look, Donovan Mitchell's not on the injury report, so he should play. Paul George, this is interesting, We'll see when he comes back to the Clippers. He's now questionable, which is a good sign for him. But, at the same time, LA, they have gone backwards of late, 5 consecutive losses. They were playing better, and they're still in the playoffs right now because of how bad the Lakers have been. The whole New Orleans was in until New Orleans came back and started playing better. And New Orleans right now is the 9. But the Clippers got enough to get into that 8 spot, but they've dropped 5 in a row. They've lost 3 straight games by double digits. They're 0-5 ATS during the stretch. Their last one came at Detroit. Last 2 wins are against Detroit and Washington, so that's not really saying much. And the Clippers face a Jazz team. They've lost 4 in a row. So it's not like Utah is anything great either. They've dropped 4 in a row, and this is the final game of a long road trip for them. And they have lost 5 of 6 on the road. So Utah, who desperately needs to get some wins here because they are 5th in the West, 45-30, still a really good record. But they're only a half game ahead of Denver, so Denver can pass them for the Northwest lead, and they're only 2.5 up on Minnesota. I mean, Utah's got to be careful. If they don't start getting it together, Minnesota plays better. Maybe Minnesota jumps them. Denver could jump them, and Utah could drop to the 7. That just shows you how strong at least the top 7 is in the West. It's a little weak after that because the Clippers, Pelicans, and Lakers are all under 500, and the Spurs are right behind. Spurs are 13 under 500 and can get into this play-in tournament. That's how weak it is, where in the East, the number 10 team is the Hawks, and they're still a game above 500. So it just goes to show you where it's all flipped around now, where the East is a lot stronger than the West. Even though the best team in the league is the Suns in the West, and Memphis has been unbelievable, but the East, a lot more balanced there at the top. So the Jazz and the Clippers, that's a rematch from the second round last year. That's when Kawhi Leonard got hurt, but the Clippers still ended up beating the Jazz and advancing to the Western Conference Finals before they lost to the Suns. But Utah so far 2-0 against LA, laying 14 and laying 5. They just laid 5 to them 11 days ago in Salt Lake. Jazz outscored the Clippers 41-14 in the second quarter of that game. LA didn't shoot the ball well, but also in that game, Donovan Mitchell didn't even play. And the Jazz still ended up putting up a great offensive performance in that one. So Jazz and Clippers, the last game of the NBA tonight. 2 college games to take a quick look at. It is the NIT. Let's not forget about the NIT. Still quality teams in there. St. Bonaventure and Xavier. Remember last time Xavier played at Madison Square Garden? They lost to Butler. They blew that 6-point lead in the final minute in the Big East tournament. Ended up losing to Butler in overtime, pretty much costing Xavier berth in the NCAA tournament. But Xavier relegated to the NIT. Their coach, Travis Steele, let go. And now Sean Miller is back as the head coach, not coaching this tournament. But Sean Miller, who was there at Xavier for a while, went to Arizona and then lost his job at Arizona. Now he's back at Xavier. So obviously next season he will start with them. But Xavier so far, 3 wins in the NIT, all at home over Cleveland State, Florida, and Vanderbilt. 2 wins by less than 4 points. St. Bonaventure's played every game on the road at Colorado, at Oklahoma, at Virginia. 3 really good wins for the Bonnies, and now they're favored here. The Bonnies were an underdog in every one of those games. Now they're a short favorite here. And Paul Scruggs, he one of the top players on Xavier, he is injured, and we'll see if he ends up playing, or let's see if he still is out. You never know with some of these guys. Sometimes they, he's done for the season. Okay, just want to double check on that one. But Xavier, though, a short underdog in that one against St. Bonaventure, and then the late game is Texas A&M and Washington State. The same situation. Well, let me retract that statement. Washington State played the first game at home against Santa Clara. Then after that, they had 2 really good wins against SMU and BYU. They beat SMU by 12, beat BYU by 19 on the road. So the Cougars now going cross-country to New York to face Texas A&M, and Buzz Williams had discussed, how the Aggies got screwed by not getting the tournament. And I thought they should have been in the tournament. They went all the way to the SEC championship before losing to Tennessee. But 3 wins by double digits in the NIT, all at home: Alcorn State, Oregon, and Wake Forest. So A&M, first time they're playing away from College Station in this tournament, while Washington State's played the last 2 on the road and had 2 really good wins against some quality opponents. So Texas A&M a short favorite against Washington State coming up tonight in the NIT, and then the final will come up on Thursday night, and that tournament will wrap up. You'll have tomorrow the basketball classic, Fresno State and Coastal Carolina. They will meet at 7 o'clock. Actually, excuse me, on Thursday night. So no college basketball tomorrow. Fresno, who beat up Southern Utah, they will travel to Coastal Carolina. Fresno State's a 3-point favorite in that one. We'll talk more about that probably on Thursday. We'll see if we hit on Thursday. But that's it for this edition of the Daily Insider. Stephanie Odie, she was going to be on today, but we switched some things around. She'll be on tomorrow, and I'll be back with you and her on Thursday. So looking ahead to that, and should be all set for just getting set for this Final Four in New Orleans, and still the NBA going on, but the college basketball season almost coming to a close, and then baseball will be here next week. So we are looking forward to that. At least me personally, I enjoy baseball, so I'm looking forward to the season coming up next week. Again, the lockout, I don't care anymore. They figured it out. They're playing. Let's do it. Let's get it started. So my thanks to Dave Sharapan for joining us, as he does every week on the Daily Insider. Sports BK Consig, that's where you can find him on Twitter. I am Kevin Rogers. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here at Vegas Insider. Thank you for watching, and as always, best of luck with your bets.